Good morning. Today we are going to be starting our next pen and ink illustration by creating an illustration of a human hand. This illustration is going to be a three-part drawing that continues to use our pen and ink skills, our page layout skills, and our drawing skills, but it also is going to add in an aspect of creativity. You're going to have some flexible wiggle room here with how you place the hand on the page. You're going to be drawing your hand from the outside, right? So that will be the first step. You're also going to be drawing your hand, and if you choose to include any props or an object. This one would be a bad example because I want to draw the hand as a medical illustration. So I kind of want to see some structures in the hand. So doing this blocks that. But I certainly could take and hold something like a paintbrush, right? I could, so like the pose that I make my hand have is going to be 100% up to me. The drawing then will have a drawing of your actual hand from the outside. It will then have a drawing of the bones of your hand and a drawing of the muscles of your hand with text labels. Okay, so that is kind of the process that we'll be exploring. I do have a few examples, from some previous students in medical illustration. So you can see the hand illustration here that they have chosen to kind of shade that in using some hatching techniques. Then over the top of that is a transparent layer with the muscles and the tendons and their labels. And then over the top of that is another transparent layer where we get the bones added on. So, like I said, multiple parts. This student opted to do it a little bit differently, and they kind of have the constant of their hand in the background, and then they have a muscle layer and a bone layer that's happening there. They also have a text layer. I just haven't included that in my example photo. This student had a good idea to have the pose go from the hand to the muscles to the bones. But you can see in this illustration that his text, his labels get a little too clustered. There's no clear indication of using a grid. So because they're not lined up, and because we have some of the muscles and some of the bones being labeled here together, it does become incredibly visually confusing. So this is an example that I show you because it's a good idea. It's a creative idea. It's nicely drawn. It's well done. But this shows you the power of your text labels and how poorly done text layer can really take away from a finished illustration. Another example just to show you the parts again. Hand, bones in the hand, muscles and tendons of the hand. Again, there's another text layer here that has not been included in the examples. We're going to be, this is a full-size illustration, so I can bring out my hand portion of a drawing. And you can see that it is just a little bit bigger than life size in this illustration. And we'll talk about options for layering, right? This is just my hand portion. And if I bring out the muscles, you can see that they layer in. So that's part of what we'll do once we have the drawing done, is you decide which part is on the top and which part is on the bottom. And we'll talk more about that later this week, but this gives you that as an example as well. So what's your job today? Your job today is it's kind of multiple parts. You're going to be planning what you want your illustration to look like, okay? And we're going to be doing a series of planning thumbnails. This is something that we've done before. We work with thumbnail sketches because it gives us a small way to kind of plan and experiment what our drawing can look like quickly. So planning sketches give you a chance to practice and to experiment. So we're going to be drawing our hand in our sketchbook. You need to do 6 different planning poses in your sketchbook today. Once you've done your 6 different planning poses, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a reference photo of your hand. So you're gonna actually place your hand in the pose that you want it to be in, and take a reference photo of that particular pose that you're going to upload to Google Classroom today. This photograph of your hand will become the basis for the drawing that you take. So you're going to be doing your planning sketches today, and you're going to be taking a photo and uploading it to Google Classroom today so that we can start beginning this illustration tomorrow in class. So here's my sketchbook. I am going to try to find my next clean piece of paper. Here it is. And then as I'm doing my planning sketches, I can go ahead and do all 6 right here on the page. Remember that this becomes symbolic of a piece of paper. It doesn't matter to me if your paper goes sideways or up and down. That's 100% up to you. So you can make a couple of different versions or a couple of different plans. And what you're gonna do in these boxes, and you probably will have to put some notes, right, is to kind of plan what your illustration is gonna look like. So I can do a quick, like kind of an experimental sketch of my hand too. It does allow me to kind of practice a little bit with just drawing the human hand. One kind of trick for drawing the hand does become that you don't draw the hand, you draw the shapes kind of around your hand instead of the hand itself. So what I mean by that is if I have my finger out like this, I am kind of drawing the chunks of my finger as I go. And then I'm looking for the space in between. So I can see that this goes like this. So I'm planning the rest of those fingers just based on how, what section of them that I can see here on the outside. And then I'm going to work from that reference place. Obviously, because I don't have transparent paper in my sketchbook, this is more about just the pose and drawing my hand itself today than about any other elements that I would include. You can see I'm just kind of working my way through my hand in this particular pose. I actually have an idea for this particular pose that my hand would have a little wee birdie on it. Okay, so this would be plan number 1. Now I'm gonna switch it up and I'm gonna do something completely different and draw my next experiment and my next plan for this illustration. Kind of experimenting with different ways I can pose my hand, and thinking about what my illustration will look like in the end. So go ahead. This also gives you practice sketching your hand in your sketchbook. So you need 6 of these. Like I said, they can go side to side, they can go up and down. And if you need any like notes, like if you don't feel like they end up very clear, you certainly can put that on there. So this is what you need to work on today, along with taking a photograph. So you're gonna do your 6 planning sketches and you're gonna upload a photo to Google Classroom that we'll begin using for this project tomorrow.